Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello. My name is Françoise de Smet. My friends and family and loved ones call me Swaz, as I had the privilege to grow up in South Africa, and a French name just doesn't go down quite as well. What a privilege it is to be here and share my story. I'm very passionate about empowering women to look after their own health and well-being. My story certainly sparked on a very hot, beautiful day. We were on holiday with my 4 children and my partner. We'd been struggling through a journey of alcohol, control, and me trying to hold the children together strong and just carrying on. Sadly, one night it had got particularly turbulent after a period of trying to hold things together with my partner. And he had been drinking quite excessively that evening, and I'd managed to sneak away with my children. And we'd had to have 2 hotel rooms because the boys were a little bit older, whereas the girls were still staying with us. And I snuck us into the boys' hotel room, having been quite pleased that we managed to escape the drunken escapades. And it was very late in the middle of the night. My eldest son, who was 13 at the time, was still awake with me, and my partner had managed to track us down and realized we were in the hotel room. And he was banging down the door, absolutely determined to get us in, really quite upset that I had disappeared with the children. And my son, in total fear, sat crying at me, saying, "Mum, please, this can't carry on." And although I had been thinking that I didn't want to be in this relationship and that things would be healthier for my children if we were separated, I didn't have the strength, and I was filled with fear to take that step to really move on. But my son's plea was the turning point I needed. It was also the point that I realized that as a woman, I was holding things together as a woman, as the mother, and internalizing all of it, and had slipped away into total ruin internally, between my pelvic floor health, between my skin health. I had a almost all body rash, and having my eldest son beg me to make a change was the total turning point that made me realize that what I was presenting within myself, although I was holding it together for the children, it wasn't serving them at all. I chose to leave. It took me a little while, but my children and I have only thrived from it. It really helps me to sit and think about women and the trauma that we physically hold for everybody else, whilst we try to hold the seams together, in particularly for our family and for the community and for generations. We hold birth trauma. We hold the physical trauma of abuse and control as we lose our independence to hold a family together. Then we sit with so much shame as we realize that perhaps we are not showing up as we would like it to, as we can't handle the control that is pressed upon us. We carry the guilt and we carry the symptoms that are manifesting within ourselves silently. We're not talking and holding each other up enough and speaking about the issues that we're presenting, certainly physically, let alone emotionally. The world is teaching women to tolerate, to endure, to absorb all of this tension and pressure and just carry on with more and more responsibilities placed upon us. We're totally holding it together and making it seem as though we're not cracking on the outside, but inside we are collapsing, literally collapsing. I survived 7 years in a controlling and emotionally abusive relationship. I held a totally double life, presenting to the world as though everything was okay, with only the children seeing the cracks in the quiet of night. The moment I decided to step forward and make a change, I hold as a blessing that my son begged me that night, because I worried that I wouldn't have had the courage to do so if he hadn't pleaded with me in those dark, dark moments. The decision to leave was huge. The response in my physical self was massive. It totally impacted me. And as I stepped into an older age, turning into my 40s, I could really see the impact with the physical changes and what I had been holding and carrying for many, many years. I believe that women's bodies are not failing. They're signaling that something is holding and that something is totally wrong. As we present with the world with a facade that everything is okay and we're holding it together, our bodies are totally cracking on the inside. We store our emotional trauma in the very center of us. It's in our core, it's in our breath, it's within all our connective tissue, and our pelvic floor is sharing the story which we're holding silently. I have put together a reset format. Reset represents everything that a woman can do to empower herself. The R is to release. We're taught to be strong. We're taught to be tough. We're taught to carry on. Yet in the softness and in the release of literally our breath and everything that we hold, so what we believe strongly helps to bring us the softness to heal. Expand. What I teach literally helps us to expand within ourselves. We expand with breath. We expand with learning and understanding. Support. We're able to support ourselves physically with softness. It's not about strength and getting stronger and holding within a support frame that we've been taught we've got to be in. We're taught we have to get stronger. We're taught that we have to carry on. Whereas support can come with gentle softness, coordination of getting our bodies to work as they should, and with posture and breath. Embody. It's about standing differently, living differently, and sharing differently, and empowering women, empowering ourselves, empowering our daughters and even our sons. The truth that is in the softness of what women can do in order to show true strength. And then T for strive. T for thrive, which is also in strive. Strive to thrive as we share and empower each other with knowledge, with care, and with openness to be able to communicate what is truly going on instead of holding things silently. As we thrive within ourselves, we can share this through generation to generation and talk more openly so that we can get true strength.
Wow, what an incredible journey you've been on. It is interesting to observe, they say, out of the mouths of babes, how your son was the one that finally made you see the sense to leave and start your life all over again. Now, let's go back to the work that you're doing in helping women. Why do you believe force based approaches have caused so much harm for women?
We just carry on. We notice that things are amiss within our physical self, and yet because we have to hold everything together, we carry on, and we are having to set in this societal view that you have to be back at work, you have to be strong, you have to be physically fit, you have to be in a certain shape, and we ignore all of our personal, physical, and emotional needs. And this has a direct negative impact on our bodies, in particular our core.
Hmm. Now, I know that what first made you question the traditional advice that women are given about the core and the pelvic floor health? What made you question this?
My personal experience, I've
Mhm.
always been strong. I've exercised since the age of 14. I've always been physically active. And although I'd had 4 children, it was very alarming that I was still experiencing physical symptoms. So incontinence was a big one. I've also got a light prolapse, even though I had 4 cesareans. So in my belief, it was, well, I've had cesareans, I shouldn't have any physical damage down there. But yes, I was still experiencing some life impacting symptoms. And
Mm,
as I learned about hyperpressives and the effect of strength on the body and how we don't have enough softness in the way that we physically hold ourselves, it we are taught total misinformation. We haven't kept up with how
mm,
we have changed and how much we're holding, and turning to softness and a very specific way of exercising our core as
mm,
opposed to trying to strengthen it more. Usually when a woman has symptoms like incontinence and prolapse, any pelvic floor dysfunction, we're then taught to strengthen it further. And
mm.
if you've already got a hypertonic pelvic floor, so a pelvic floor that's really strong and switched on already, you're exacerbating your symptoms because you're only adding to the problem. And it's almost the only information that's provided to women prenatally, postnatally, and throughout every hormonal change of our lives. We're taught you just need to strengthen this area.
Yes. So, can you explain hypopressives in a way that every woman can immediately understand?
I sure can. It's a practice, although it's in the framework of exercise. It's a very mindful flow where instead of trying to focus on the pelvic floor and strengthen it, we actually move to the breath. We're actively focusing on the diaphragm. The pelvic floor is also a diaphragm, and we want these diaphragms to work. Sorry, I dropped off there. Where
You
we're
did.
mostly noticing the symptoms, we take the attention away from there. We calm the nervous system through breath. We call it a lateral or 360-degree breath. So the first thing is we teach to notice where is the breath, where is the pressure placed when we're breathing. And then we
Right.
take the expansion in lateral breath and we do something that's called lateral or diaphragmatic breathing. And just by breathing and opening the rib cage when we breathe, we take direct pressure off the pelvic floor. That's the first layer of teaching that we do. Then, as long as a woman doesn't have any heart issues or isn't pregnant, then we then start to teach something that's called an apnea or a vacuum. This is when we hold our breath in a particular stage of this breathing routine that we do. And this vacuum helps to have a visceral positioning of all of our internal organs. It helps to either switch on the pelvic floor if it is inactive, or it helps to switch off the pelvic floor. It's really hypertonic and constantly working. So no matter what your body needs, it gets what it needs to do, switch on or switch off. And then one of the most beautiful things that are happening and occurring is we're working with the fascia. This is our connective tissue that holds trauma, and we're constantly carrying this trauma throughout our life within our fascia. And there's very little that we do in life that helps to release trauma and helps to release our fascia. And this happens really gently and beautifully, simply by taking that moment in with this breath work, with creating an apnea or a vacuum, and doing it in certain postures. So we do it in standing, we do it in kneeling, seated, laying, and then we start to add movement throughout hyperpressives.
Wow. It's quite a complex system that nobody is taught about. So, what are women's most surprised to learn when they start working with breath and posture instead of pressure?
They're relieved. They are totally relieved that firstly they haven't been, so often they're like, oh, I haven't been doing my lifts, my pelvic floor lifts. I didn't work hard enough. I didn't try hard enough. So they're relieved to hear that there's nothing wrong with them. We're
Yes.
taught that you've had babies or you're a certain age, it's totally normal for you to be experiencing these life impacting symptoms that are debilitating. It's normal. It's not normal. Our body has created a dysfunction with all the pressures that we are thrown into throughout our day-to-day life. And this has just continued as years go by. They're relieved to know that it is very common. It is a silent thing that they're suffering in, but every single woman, almost every woman I meet and talk to about this, realize like, oh yeah, actually, I did wonder what was going on. So they're relieved to know that they are not alone and that there is definitely an answer. It's common, but it's not normal, and something can be done.
So, what role does breath play in hormone regulation, pain, and stress that most people overlook?
It plays a huge role. Our hormones are underpinning everything that's going on in our body. If we've got an area of tension and then certainly an area of pain, it's going to throw our hormones out of whack. Having that nervous system re-regulated, again, is going to help calm down not only our nervous system, but our entire hormonal system. It does definitely have a huge impact from top to bottom. We are connected from the top of our head all the way through our tippy toes and all the way in through. And often the prescribed exercise or therapies that we're given are isolated to a certain area, which is the biggest problem with pelvic floor dysfunction. The focus is on the pelvic floor, whereas the issue is not necessarily coming from there because our hormones are taken into play.
So, how do chronic tension patterns develop, and why are they so common in women?
I believe trauma is a huge one. Certainly
Yeah.
with everything that we hold within our core, we were designed to child rear. And within that, there's such a massive impact on our physical selves. And we don't get, whether it's prenatally or postnatally, because I've met loads of women who have got pelvic floor dysfunction and issues and they haven't had children yet. So it's not specific just to postnatal women.
Right.
Our core works differently to men. And we don't have enough investment in our health and the things that work for women. Things are not trialed enough, and it's not spoken
Yes.
widely enough. We know this with menopause. It's still a very new term. It's still very new to be sharing practices that support women through menopause. This is an even deeper layer because it's far more difficult to talk about our intimate areas. One thing talking about our hormones, but what's going on in our intimate areas even harder to bring out into the open and discuss. So it's the lack of communication, it's the lack of knowledge, it's the lack of women supporting women in what is actually going on. And then we're having to go through exercising hard or holding things together for our communities, for our families, year after year, generation after generation, without ever looking at the trauma that's being created. And this is even without mentioning things like abuse, things like sexual trauma, what's happened to each individual woman from the start of her sexual journey right through to when she's had or chosen to have children, and furthermore.
Wow, there's so much that we don't talk about. And I think this is the biggest problem for most women. So, what is the biggest myth about pelvic floor health that you would love to retire forever?
That it's not about strength. Personally, I believe that it's still the hyper focus is on let's strengthen you in that area, or let's stitch you up or lift you up. Whereas it should be about a self-empowerment where we get the opportunity to be softer on ourselves. I believe that most women are incredibly hard on themselves internally. It's a constant dialogue, and we're
Mm,
always feeling as though we're not enough.
mm,
We are enough. In each individual woman, we are totally enough. And our pelvic floor is simply telling a story that's going on internally.
mm. That not enoughness is a pattern that runs in most women's lives. It's so crazy. So, how does body awareness create confidence beyond physical health?
When we are comfortable in our own skin and within our own selves, we can heal ourselves. It's about understanding what story our symptoms are telling us. What story are we holding and letting it manifest within ourselves physically? And when we understand ourselves and we know that it's okay and that we haven't failed, our bodies haven't failed us, they're just
Yes.
talking to us, we can sit in that softness and heal.
Mm. Yeah, that feels really nice. So, what does a calmer approach to healing actually look like in daily life?
I encourage women to get it out the way. First thing in the morning, it is a 10-minute practice. Personally, I know that I've done my job well if I have empowered a woman to know that she can take the skill, I do see it as a skill, into her day-to-day life. So if she didn't have the 10 minutes in the morning, that is an ideal practice. Personally, I get up, I get showered because it doesn't make you sweaty. It doesn't mean you need a shower after having done your practice. So you can do it at any point too, as long as you don't have a full stomach of food, is the direct guideline. As long as you're not full, then you could, if you needed to, do it in the evening. So fitting it in when it suits her personally. Even if it meant she was doing just a few breaths when the kettle's boiling, when you're sitting in the car. So having that ability to learn a practice initially, develop
Yes.
the skill, and then use it throughout her day-to-day life moving forward. Because we
Mm.
don't always have 10 minutes. 10 minutes doesn't sound a lot, but when
Yeah.
you're running a
Yeah.
household, it can be a lot of time,
Especially if you have children.
especially if you have
So,
children.
why is education such a powerful form of healing for women?
We know our own bodies. And if we can understand what's going on, we can pick and choose what's right for us in that moment. as opposed to be
Mhm.
led by what we're being told. We're fed so much information every single day. It's
Yeah.
confusing, it's conflicting. And essentially, if we take the moment to be quiet and soft and trust ourselves, because
Yes.
again, we get taught, we're conditioned to not trust our own instinct and our ability to listen internally. If we take that moment to be soft, quiet, and trust, we've often got the right answers to know what is right for us in any particular moment. But
Mm,
certainly when we're embarking in a physical journey of trying to strengthen or trying to heal ourselves, what is right for us, it does come within that quiet moment of
mm,
softness as opposed to making it harder, which is what I love about this practice with hyperpressives. It is gentle, it is mindful, it is about slowing us down in a time where we're doing so many things, we're
mm,
completely overwhelmed, and we're just rushing through every aspect of life as opposed to taking the time to listen within.
mm. So, what gaps do you see in how health professionals are trained around women's bodies?
We haven't caught up. We're not, it's there are very few practitioners that I have met that have heard about hyperpressives, even though it's been around since the 1980s. It's been
Mm,
around a very long time. Myself, as a fitness professional, it was brand new, and I was absolutely gobsmacked that it wasn't something that I had been educated in, let alone heard about.
yeah.
It's again, we're in a frame at the moment where it's about trying to fix things when it's almost too late, where there is so much power in prevention and preparing us from the very beginning. Hyperpressive should really be taught to young people so they've got the skill as they're entering into hormonal shifts, as
Mhm.
women get into the age of child rearing, as we
Yes.
embark on doing new things, new exercise, new sport, new pressures, new jobs. It can literally help with every aspect of our life. And
Mhm.
it's just not having that information from early on.
Wow. This has been an intriguing conversation. I have to say, you have brought some knowledge and information that is not mainstream, and it really should. So let's end the interview with a bit of a thought experiment. My next question, I'm going to teleport you back into the past to that young woman who was going through so many physical challenges. If you could go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
You are enough. Everything that you stand for and every part of you is enough. You don't have to hold it together for everybody. Starting with yourself and putting yourself first gives you enough to give to everybody else. And we're in this together. It's okay to vocalize what is going on within you, ask for help, and more importantly, take the help that is offered to you. I know that as a young woman, I was not able to take any help that was given to me and felt that I had to carry every hardship and every bit of what needed to be done for myself and for my family. I felt I had to carry. And it is about sharing that load.
That is so true. Next question, I'm going to teleport you into the future this time, and we are going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. She's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her great grandchildren. But knowing you with science and technology, you'll be on a dance floor somewhere doing your thing. If we could teleport into the future to go and meet this wise woman who has led you up until that point, What will you say to her when you finally meet her?
Well, that's a hard one. It's almost harder than it's definitely harder than going backwards and talking to my younger self. Well done. What a journey. And this is hard to say because, again, even though I talk about that internal voice and being kind to your internal voice, saying out loud and truly believing it, even as a woman of 45, that's doubling my age. And I know I should say this to myself at present because it is true for now as it would be when I am a 90-year-old woman. Thank you. You've made a difference.
That is absolutely beautiful. And you are so right. I have a little game that I play in that I connect with the essence of who I am becoming. I know the wise woman is in me. She whispers sometimes. She tells me to go left, go right, say yes, say no. And whenever I listen to her, I go the right way. But when I don't, I find myself making mistakes. So we all have that wise woman in us. The thing is for us to tune into her when she communicates with us.
Mm.
That gut feel that we have, that instinct that something isn't quite right. And I love the fact that you said thank you to her because she is here and she is guiding you into the future. Is there anything else I should have asked you and I didn't?
I don't think so. I think that I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I truly believe that every woman has a powerful story. And you're so totally right. It is about your normal day-to-day women who are doing extraordinary things. And as women, we are not heard enough. We are not heard. So the opportunity to be seen, Gertrude, thank you so much, to have an opportunity to have a voice, to have an opportunity to share so that other women can sit with themselves and go, it is okay. I am enough. I can be heard and I am being held. We are holding each other. And the stronger that we get to hold, the stronger that we become in holding each other in softness, because it's not about physical strength or the strength to get through each day. It is about supporting each other, being heard, being seen, but it does come from that initial seeing and hearing yourself.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who's experiencing all kinds of physical challenges, reach out, get some help. You don't have to do this alone. I've got the website at the bottom of the screen. Here is an expert who can handhold you every single step of the way. And if you do know someone else who might need this information, please share this video. Post it on your social media, tag your friends. Let's get this message out so we can help more women around the world. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thank you again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates, and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank you.